wandering around.
Oh. Take it square. Wow.
Seattle at the moment, and well, actually right now I live here at Port Lockroy. So I'm one of a team of 4 this year working for the Antarctic Heritage Trust, running the base at Port Lockroy, which you will see shortly. One of my colleagues is here this morning, Sarah. Sarah's from France.
Hi, Sarah.
And we also have on base today Helen, our base leader, and Jane, who you will see in the museum and shop. So the team are here for the summer season, so we live down here for 4 months, and our primary job while we're here is to welcome you as visitors to our museum. I'll tell you just a bit about the history of Port Lockroy. I'm going to try and leave as much time as I can for questions, and and then we'll welcome you to the island. So Port Lockroy was discovered in 1904 by the French expeditioner Jean-Baptiste Charcot, and for the first about half century after it was discovered, the port was used as a safe harbor. When you get out, you'll see it's a pretty safe anchorage. You'll notice that we have a lot of yachts around at the moment. They're there for the same reason that the early explorers came to Port Lockroy, because it's quite protected area. And so the early explorers liked it very much. The other people who liked Port Lockroy at first were the whalers. So there were whalers who came down. They didn't have a whaling station nearby. The closest one was at Deception Island, a little bit to the north of here. So they processed the whales directly from the boats. They liked Port Lockroy because there is a large supply of fresh water from the surrounding glaciers that you'll see all around the bay, and they needed that fresh water to process the whales. So that was the earliest history of Port Lockroy. In 1944, the history really changed. In 44, the British government sent down a group of men in a secret mission called Operation Tabarin. Even the men on Operation Tabarin didn't know what they were doing when they came to Port Lockroy. It was a secret even from them. One guy wrote home to his family that he thought they must be going someplace really nice because they had been issued sunglasses as part of their kit. So he thought they must be going to some tropical paradise somewhere, and instead they came here, which is paradise in its own way, but just a different way. What the purpose of Operation Tabarin was to establish a permanent British presence in this area, and that was, of course, to help Britain establish its territorial claim. We are currently in what the British consider British Antarctic territory. As part of that, there was a post office operational. You could send mail home from here. We've continued that operation today, so you will be able to mail your postcards with the stamp of the Queen on them. Actually, it's a penguin. So from 44 till 62, the men were down here at first to help Britain with its territorial claim. Very quickly after World War II ended, though, the purpose of Port Lockroy shifted to scientific research, and the scientists came down. They stayed until 1962, and they primarily did studies of the ionosphere, which is the upper level of the atmosphere. It's used in the transmission of radio waves, which of course was the primary means of communication before there were satellites. So Port Lockroy was at the cutting edge of this, and you will see all of this historical scientific equipment in the museum. In 1962, the base was abandoned, and the scientists went elsewhere around the peninsula to continue their work, and the base really fell into disrepair. And it stayed that way until the 1990s. In 1991, the Antarctic Treaty, the environmental protocol of the Antarctic Treaty, stipulated that if there were bases around the continent, you either have to come and clean them up, remove every trace and return Antarctica to its pristine condition, or designate the base as having some historical relevance. Because Port Lockroy had been used for so long and was such an important site, it was designated Historic Site number 61 under the Antarctic Treaty. And the Brits were required to come in and renovate the base, and they reconstructed it to its exact former state. Today, Port Lockroy is run by a trust, the Antarctic Heritage Trust, based out of the UK. The team, we all work for the trust, and their role is to preserve this heritage here, this history. So we have a museum. Really encourage you to visit all of the rooms in the museum so you can see how these scientists and explorers lived in the 1940s and 50s. We've got all it's exactly as it was back then. You can see their kitchen, you can see their lounge where they hung out when they weren't working, their bunk room. all of the things that that they used in their life on base. We live very similarly to how the scientists lived in the 40s and 50s. We have a very simple life here. We have no running water. We don't have internet or phone. We have no plumbing. We have very little electricity. And so we have some solar panels and a wind generator. But our life is pretty much modeled on what it was here in the early days. We also have a study that we collect data for on the penguin colony. We have a Gen 2 penguin colony here on the island, so you will see the penguins. A little bit challenging to keep the 5-meter rule here on Port Lockroy. We do ask that you do your very best to do that. But the penguins, we live amongst them, so they like to nest near the buildings. They're all nesting right now, and the chicks are hatching. We've had our first chicks in these past few days, so you may, if you're patient and you stand still for a while and watch a penguin stand up, you may get lucky and see a chick. So I encourage you to do that as well. And we do collect data which we send back to the British Antarctic Survey, and they're analyzing this data to see if there's any difference in the reproductive success between the penguins that we live amongst and the penguins on the other side of the island where we don't go. That area is clearly marked. You'll see there are posts up in the snow, and humans don't go into that area, so we leave those penguins to their own devices. You'll also see our shop when you come onto the island. So we have a wonderful shop. You can do all your shopping in Antarctica here today with us at Port Lockroy. We take dollars, we take euros, we take pound sterling, we take MasterCard, we take Visa, and you can buy lovely things like this hoodie I'm wearing that says Base A, which is the name of our base. You can buy this nice gilet or this hoodie that Sarah is wearing. Some nice whale-tail earrings. T-shirt with line of penguins on the back. Yes, T-shirts very popular. All of the revenue, the profits from the shop go directly to the trust. So we work for a charity. All of the revenue from the shop goes to the operation of Port Lockroy and the various other bases around the peninsula. So the Antarctic Heritage Trust also runs or maintains the bases at Damoy Point, which is just around the corner from here. We've got also huts at Detail Island and Wardy House. And so they're not staffed, we're the only one that's staffed, but Port Lockroy supports all of these activities around the peninsula, really preserving the Antarctic heritage in this area. The Trust is also in a position to support its sister organization, the New Zealand Antarctic Heritage Trust, which takes care of the huts in the Ross Sea area. So I'm sure many of you have read about Shackleton and Robert Falcon Scott. The Trust also supports their structures that they built in the Ross Sea. So I'll leave it there for the minute and take your questions. People often have questions for us about the team and the work that we're doing here. So, yeah. Yes, there are maps for sale, absolutely. The map that you'll want to look for is map 1A, 1B. And that is the map that will show your entire voyage. So it's two-sided. One side has the Antarctic Peninsula, and that will have all the different landing sites that you made. And the other side has the Scotia Sea with the Tierra del Fuego, the Drake Passage, the South Georgia, and the Falkland Islands. So yeah, 1A, 1B, that's the one you want to find. Yeah. What are other questions about our wonderful life here at Port Lockroy?
How many people live here?
Yeah, so we have a lot of people here at the moment. So the team are 4. And we have also this year a very special project happening, which is a film crew are down here with us from AGB Films, and they are making a documentary for the BBC. And the documentary at the moment, the working title is Penguin Post Office, so it's about the penguins with the backdrop of us, people, and the buildings. They're also making a documentary for CBBC, which is the children's version of BBC, and that is starring one of the filmmakers' 2 daughters. And so you will see, like I said, several yachts in the area. One of them is the yacht Pelagic, and they are down here with us for the better part of the season. And they're housing the film crew and their families. One of the film crew also lives with us, Ruth, so you may see her around doing some filming as well. Oh, right. Sarah just reminded me that the documentary will also be shown on PBS, and so in America we'll be able to see it too. No, the base is not manned during the winter. We are very dependent on the expedition ships like your own when they come here for our water supply, for our own transportation. It's the ships that bring us down and take us back at the end of the season. And so you could live here through the winter, but it would be quite challenging. And certainly for a staff of 4, it would be very challenging these days because we are working very closely with the ships that come, and they're extremely generous to us in all of their support. So. Yeah, just for the summer. A lot of our work during the summer, though, involves preparing the buildings for winter. We have to repaint everything on base to protect it against the pretty harsh winter conditions down here. So a lot of our work is winterizing. Yeah. Ooh, that's a good question. We have had an atypical season this year because for a good part of the first month and a half we were iced in. So the winds were a bit tricky this season. Usually we have a prevailing northeasterly at this time of year, which any ice that collects in the water, that would push it right out of the bay. This year we had the reverse. We had a lot of southwesterly winds which packed in the ice. So we had very few ships come, and certainly no yachts would have attempted to come except for the yacht Pelagic, which had to come with the film crew. And they really had a battle. They had to battle their way through the ice. So, we've got 3 or 4 yachts in at the moment, and that's been pretty consistent lately. So they come and go. They like to stay and hang out for a few days. I couldn't guess a number, but I would say there'd be a yacht here pretty much all the time from now until the end of the season. Ships as well. Last year, Port Lockroy welcomed 18,000 visitors, and this year we were expecting a similar number, but we probably won't reach that because of the ice conditions, and we had quite a few cancellations. But we have, at the moment, we have about 2 ships a day coming in. Very busy. Right, well, I will look forward to welcoming you to Goodyear Island. We will see you on shore, and thank you so much for your time this morning. And yeah, we'll see you in a minute. Oh, sorry, one more question, yeah. We don't really. We have, our cargo is prepared in the UK and sent down on the ship Fram, and they bring us 2 supplies of cargo, both of them pretty early in the season this year, and so all our cargo is here. The only thing that we get kind of resupplied with on a regular basis is water, our drinking water, which we get from the ships. We have jerry cans that we bring up to the ships and fill them up and take them back up to our house. So, yeah. Wait, sorry, there's one more. Yeah.
So fruits and vegetables,
Yeah, we get them. We do. We eat mostly canned food, so all of the cargo is prepared, and that's obviously cans and pasta and lentils and things that are dried and can be stored. We do get the ships are so kind to us; they're very generous, and will give us fresh fruit and vegetables whenever they can. So we do eat pretty well here. Everyone on base is a really good cook, so we look forward to our meal times.